Welcome, fellow explorers. My name is Christian Alexanderson, and this is Hemlocks to Hellbenders, a podcast highlighting Pennsylvania's parks, forests, and great outdoors. Those exploring Hickory Run State Park in the Pocono Mountains should expect to find something they've never seen before. In the northeast corner of the park, formed by millions of years of glacial movement, is the Boulder Field. At 400 feet by 1,800 feet, this vast rocky landscape is a geological marvel. The field is made up of tightly packed sandstone boulders, ranging in size from small stones to massive rocks that weigh several tons. Some of the boulders are over 20 feet long. The Boulder Field's appearance is striking because of its flatness and the absence of vegetation over the large area. It looks like something you see on the moon or some distant planet. The site was formed over 20,000 years ago during the last ice age, when repeated freeze-thaw cycles caused the sandstone to fracture and break apart, leaving behind this stunning rocky expanse. Because of its preserved state, the Boulder Field offers a rare glimpse into the geological processes that shape northeastern Pennsylvania. This national natural landmark begs to be explored by those visiting the park. Visitors to the Boulder Field are encouraged to explore the site on foot. It's a popular destination for geology enthusiasts and casual hikers alike, providing both an educational experience and a fun physical challenge. Beyond its scientific significance, the field's size and natural beauty makes it a must-see for anyone visiting Hickory Run State Park. But make sure you enjoy it as you find it. Moving or stacking rocks is prohibited. Be prepared, wear proper footwear, and take your time. Nobody wants to go to the hospital because you want to do something funny for Instagram. But even if you never step foot onto the Boulder Field, Hickory Run State Park is a gem for those looking to explore wild landscapes and experience vibrant ecosystems. The park offers so much to so many. There's 40 miles of epic trails with names like the Shades of Death Trail. There's beautiful waterfalls like the 25-foot-tall Hawk Falls. There's hundreds of available campsites. And, of course, the piece de resistance, the Boulder Field. But before we learn more about the park, here's the stats. Hickory Run State Park is a 15,990-acre park located in Carbon County. Available activities include hiking, picnicking, overnight accommodations, swimming, wildlife watching, fishing, hunting, disc golf, wayfinding, cross-country skiing, ice skating, and snowmobiling. A notable feature of the park is its Boulder Field formed by glacial movement. Before it was called Hickory Run State Park, the first colonists called the area Shades of Death because of its dark forests, swamps, and rocky, unfarmable soil. Nearby towns include Whitehaven, Blakesley, and Albrightsville. State lands that are close by include Lehigh Gorge and Beltsville State Parks. You may enjoy the park if you enjoy learning about the geological history of the Keystone State. I'm excited to welcome Megan Fedor and Jake Smith to the podcast. Megan and Jake are both environmental education specialists at Hickory Run State Park. Megan, Jake, thanks so much for joining the program.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
How would you describe the park to someone who's never been there before?
Well, Hickory Run is huge, first of all. There's so many unique things to see that any visitor is going to be able to find something that they enjoy. So it's 16,000 acres, which contains over 40 miles of trails. We have a huge campground, campsites, cottages, group camps, a whole lot of diversity in our overnight facilities. And we also have a national natural landmark. So that's one of the main highlights in the park. We also have really beautiful scenic creeks with small cascades and a 25-foot natural waterfall, several other waterfalls that flow out of man-made dams. The mountain laurel bloom and rhododendron blooms in the summer are just spectacular. And the park is adjacent to Lehigh Gorge State Park, which offers another scenic rail trail, whitewater boating opportunities, as well as 6,100 acres of land. And not only that, we're surrounded by game lands. So when you consider all of that public land that's conserved, it's about 40,000 acres. And the park is, a main part of that conserved land. So it's a really important piece of our landscape here.
What do both of you love most about the park?
Sure. I love the remote trails and the fact that when it's incredibly busy, you can still find a lot of peace and solitude if you leave the most popular spots. I love that there are these remote wetlands and habitats that are protected within one of the busiest parks in our state. And in 2020, a new visitor center opened, which I'm sure you got to experience. It's a wonderful spot for visitors to launch their adventure. And it also serves our campers checking in, and it's just a huge improvement from what we had before. I'm particularly proud of the exhibit hall, which won first place in the 2021 National Association for Interpretation Media Awards. So always encourage folks to check out our exhibit hall. Jake, what do you like?
Oh my gosh. I just love that there's so much to do at Hickory Run State Park. It's just, there's so many trails to hike. You can go take a dip at the beach, Sand Spring Beach. There's the national landmark, which is Boulder Field. You can go kind of walk across the boulders. And then the exhibit hall, which is also amazing, like Megan mentioned there. But I also like that it's readily accessible to a lot of pretty major urban areas in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of different people.
Geology plays a central theme in the creation of the park and many of its incredible features. Can you tell us how the area was formed?
Sure. Well, during that time period, about 20,000 years ago, the Laurentide Continental Glacier covered roughly about a third of the park. And if you grab our park map, it shows the outline of that glacier. And right at the edge of the glacier, the park experienced what's called periglacial climate. So it includes freezing and thawing, these long periods of freezing, then thawing. So warm, then cold, then warm, then cold. And that was the main driving force of the creation of Boulder Field. Those rocks weren't dropped by the glacier like a lot of people think, but they're the result of that freezing and thawing, breaking the rock that was already here into smaller pieces. And once the climate did begin to warm to the temperatures that we have today, the glacier melted, of course, and that meltwater rushed through the park's creeks, kind of cutting them, scouring them, and leaving behind the cascades and the waterfalls that we have here today, like Hawk Falls. So it was a really interesting dynamic that happened thousands of years ago and over thousands of years of time. Jake, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that was great. That was a perfect explanation. Yeah.
When colonists first arrived in the area, they called it Shades of Death. What would the colonists have seen to make that moniker so fitting?
So this is a question that we get a lot, especially because people see the signs for our trail called Shades of Death Trail, and they wonder why it's called Shades of Death Trail. It's not as scary as it sounds. So what we believe why that how that name came to be is that this area we have a lot of hemlock trees, and the hemlock trees provide a lot of shade. So that's number one. And number two is the area is also very rocky and it's not very livable because people can't farm here. Many people didn't live here because of that reason. And so that is why the area got its name of Shades of Death.
You do have to admit, it might be the coolest name for a trail in Pennsylvania.
It is a great name.
I totally agree. And every time we see visitors start on the trail, they've always got to get their picture by that sign. They survived.
The history of the land that would become Hickory Run State Park is one of devastation and regrowth. How has the forest responded to deforestation and fires, and what do the forests look like today?
Okay, so forests generally kind of respond to devastation with the process of succession. So sun-loving pioneer plants will kind of move in, and then as those grow taller and taller, shade-loving plants kind of follow, and Hickory Run is no different. So thanks to the fires and the timbering in the 1800s and then early 1900s, the park doesn't really feature any old growth. Kind of the largest trees in the park are isolated white pines or hemlocks that escaped the timbering due to their kind of serpentine trunk growth or their location on really steep stream banks. Much of the park is covered in beech maple hardwood forests that are currently struggling with beech leaf disease and beech bark disease, which is sadly kind of promising to lead us into another cycle of devastation. And the park also has some nice stands of eastern hemlock, which are battling the hemlock woolly adelgid and elongate scale. So the stands that are most viable are most visible in the park and also happen to be the most vulnerable to visitors. They have been treated with insecticide for many years now by our staff and the Bureau's resource management team. So it's never stagnant. This cycle of devastation and regrowth, it continues on even today.
Hickory Run is home to a number of wonderful natural features, the most popular of which is the Boulder Field, now a national and natural landmark. What is the Boulder Field? What can visitors expect to see?
So Boulder Field is quite an amazing wonder that you can find in the park. Now, the the way that it was formed not from a glacial deposit, which many people think that these rocks, these boulders, just melted from a glacier and just landed here. That is not how it was formed. How what happened was about 20,000 years ago, there was the Laurentide Continental Glacier, and this area where Boulder Field is now was in very close proximity to this glacier, about 1 mile away. And with that, it created the perfect kind of temperature for very rapid freezing and thawing. And with the bedrock being there, the cracks in the bedrock, water would get into the cracks, freeze, the water would expand and be so powerful that it would start to break up these rocks, to where we eventually, over time, 20,000 years later, we have a big field of boulders. So if you're looking at Boulder Field from the parking lot, as it moves back further north, where it would be closer to the glacier, the boulders get larger and larger to where it eventually turns into bedrock.
And for people who have never seen it before, quite simply, it's a giant field of just boulders.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's about 18 acres. It extends about 1,600 feet long and about 600 feet wide. And it looks like, from a bird's eye view, it looks like it's in the shape of a shark. Some people say whale. I think it looks like it's in the shape of a shark. But yeah, it is definitely a must see in the park.
What are visitors' reactions when they see it?
Oh, something very interesting that I find from what a lot of people say when they come to Border Field is they say that they remember being there a long time ago. Some people will say 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and they just remember it be looking the exact same, which I just love hearing that. And I hear it so often. Like almost every time I'm out there, people say that they've been there, you know, almost half a century ago, and they just remember it being the exact same. And people, it's also really nice because it's accessible to where people can just drive right up in the parking lot, and you can see Boulder Field from the parking lot. And then you can just do like a short walk very close to it if you want, but you don't need to do any far hike or anything like that. There is a gravel road that you do have to take out to get to it. But other than that, it is pretty accessible for everyone to see and enjoy.
When I was there over Memorial Day weekend, I love the fact that it was me and my wife who were going out and we're like, wow, this is so incredible. And then you see kids and younger parents that are like, this is so awesome. We got to climb on these rocks. And then you look to the other side and there's people in their 60s and 70s like, we got to go climb on those rocks. Like I do think it's one of those really cool experiences that isn't available everywhere in the Commonwealth, that people from all different generations kind of come and can still be in awe of something so cool looking.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And whenever people want to go out there, you know, we make sure that they do, take it easy, take it slow, but we say there's no shame in getting down, crawling on your hands and knees, if you want to enjoy it, just go for it.
Can you tell us a little bit about Hawk Falls?
So, Hawk Falls is a beautiful 25-foot waterfall that is natural, and it flows through Hawk Run in the park, which was named for the hawk family and not necessarily the bird hawk, which you may see flying overhead, but more often I've actually seen bald eagles flying over. But it's this beautiful scenic waterfall that uh, even when there's very little water flow, it's still gorgeous in all seasons. And even in the winter time, when it's frozen, it is a beautiful sight. So there's a short trail that takes you down to Hawk Falls. It's about a 1 mile round trip, a little bit less than 1 mile. And from the parking lot on 534, you're going to walk down a hill. So it's not a terribly difficult hike, but folks who have mobility challenges might find it a challenge. Because you're walking down and you have to walk back up on the way back up. So the trail takes you down and you'll cross over a nice bridge on Hawk Run, and the trail eventually leads you down to Mud Run, and you turn and come back up to the waterfall. And it's a really nice hike. You go through rhododendron tunnel, which will be blooming around 4th of July every year. So it's a really nice hike in all seasons, like I said.
How busy does it get?
Oh, it gets incredibly busy.
Yeah.
So there's you can time your visit, which I recommend you doing if you if you don't like fighting traffic. So early mornings or in the off season is your best bet to have a nice quiet experience at Hawk Falls. If you're going after 10 a.m. throughout our summer season, which is approximately Memorial Day to Labor Day, but kind of on either ends of that, you're probably going to have a hard time finding parking, and there's going to be a lot of people down there. So I definitely go myself when it's quiet. I'll go in the off season or in the morning just for my own sanity.
Hickory Run State Park has more than 40 miles of trails. They give visitors a snapshot of beautiful forests, natural features, and the area's history. Do you have any trail recommendations?
Sure. I'll start off and then I'll pass it off to Jake because I know he has some good ones too, I'm sure. So I enjoy hiking on all of the trails because they're so diverse. There's a lot of different things to see on our trails. But what I recommend visitors to consider is that timing. If you want to see Hawk Falls and Shades of Death, which are our most popular trails, they really are wonderful. Um, Go in the early mornings or in the off season. Both of those are going to be very busy. A loop that I like that is increasingly busy is Sand Spring and Hickory Run Trail. So that's about a 2-mile loop that you can make. It's great for families. It's fairly flat, and it has some neat features like a rhododendron tunnel. There's a bridge over the creek. Kids love it. And there's also a spot to dip your toes in the water. So it's great for a warm summer day. Leonardsville is another favorite of mine. It is super remote and folks may find it tricky to find that one, but use the map. It's on there, I promise. And it's accessed from the northwest spur of Stage Trail. And that trail features the park's longest rhododendron tunnel. So it's really cool. It's dark. These huge shrubs hug the trail on all sides, even above you. And there's a couple of bridgeless creek crossings that kind of add to the experience. So it's a great one to do in the heat of the summer as well. And there's even a geocache on the trail, and it's featured in our Hidden Gems geocache series. So that's one of my favorites. Jake, what do you like?
Yeah, so out of all of the trails that we have, I do love Hawk Falls. But yeah, like you mentioned, Megan, you should definitely go. If you're going like on a busy weekend, try to go early in the morning or in the evening, probably. But other than that, my favorite is Fireline Trail. That parking lot's accessible from the very close to the western entrance of the park. But yeah, it's a trail that goes out. You go about a mile or so to where you eventually reach a beautiful overlook of the Lehigh Gorge and the Lehigh River. And if you're into birding, it goes along. There's like a steep ledge to the side of the trail at one point to where you're like right with the canopy of the trees. And when the warblers are coming through, it's a good spot for birding. So, but yeah, if you are interested in hiking too, I would definitely recommend stopping in our park office as well, the visitor center, and check out our interactive exhibits to really learn what we have first to see what is fitting for you.
Is there something everyone should experience when they visit?
Definitely Boulder Field is up there. Our 25-foot natural waterfall, Hawk Falls, is definitely on the list to see. But it also depends on what you're really interested in doing. If you have kids, the camping is a great option. We love camping here. Our campground is huge, almost 400 campsites. We have full hookup sites here. There's also our beach, if you want to go picnicking, we have Sand Spring day use area with lots of picnic tables. I have never seen every single picnic table being used out there. So there's like pretty much always space for people and a big field. So if you want to go picnicking by the lake, stop in the concession stand, get some ice cream. We also have our camp store in the campground. You can, you know, get set up with some of your Hickory Run camping gear or, swag, as people call it.
Megan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think if people are going to see one thing at the park, I would recommend Boulder Field because it is something special that you are not going to see anywhere else. It's really unique because of its size, because it's so flat, and it's easily accessible. Although there are other boulder strewn areas in Pennsylvania, they're often on steep hillsides and they're not as easy to get to or as impressive. It's a national natural landmark. That is something really special that we have at our park. So that's always like the number one. You got to go see Boulder Field.
If a visitor has a full weekend to explore the park, maybe they're staying over, maybe they're camping, what would you recommend they do? Are there longer hikes that you think would be a good investment of their time?
Yeah, there are a lot of really great longer hikes that you can make from a bunch of trails. From 2 mile loops, like I mentioned, Sand Spring and Hickory Run, up to 10 miles, 20 miles. I've had people say that they've done these long, elaborate loops. So it's really up to you and your ability. But I would really look into the hike descriptions on our map and the information that we have. Check in the park office just to make sure that no conditions have changed. Sometimes we get these storms and bridges go out. So it's a good idea to just make sure that you know what you're getting into and be prepared for that. So yeah, longer hikes, absolutely. Definitely see the Boulder Field, check off Hawk Falls, check off Shades of Death, and some of the more remote trails in the park. Just pick one that you've never heard of and go for it because it's sure to be interesting. They all have something special about them and they're all kind of unique. There's one spot in the park that I always like to check out, and it is the road from the group camps to the chapel area. So if you're going up to Boulder Field, you would make a left turn before the road turns to dirt. And that road will lead you down Hickory Run Creek, and you'll get this beautiful view of Saylorsville Falls, which comes out from Saylorsville Dam. And you get to drive through the creek. It's called the Fordway, and it'll keep bringing you down past Hickory Run Creek. And it's a really scenic drive that is accessible to anyone who has a vehicle. You could also walk it if you wanted to as well. So those are some of the things I'd add to the list. Would you add anything else, Jake?
I think that was well said.
Pretty much everything in the park. And if you have more time after that, see nearby Lehigh Gorge State Park. It's really, really neat as well.
In your opinion, when is the best time to visit the park?
So we are open all year and the park experiences all 4 seasons. There's really not a bad time to visit unless you're allergic to crowds. You want to stay away from busy holiday weekends during the summer. But during the blooms, mountain laurel that is mid-June and rhododendron is early July. Fall foliage peak is spectacular, and after a fresh snowfall is a really great time to visit as well. But while we're open in winter, some of our facilities and some of our features may not be open or may be more challenging to get to. So yeah, it just depends on when you want to come, and you're definitely going to want to come back. So see it in all seasons.
Yeah, I think that the mountain laurel bloom is absolutely spectacular here. Last year was a great bloom. I think this year will be as well because I see them just starting to bloom here. But other than that, my favorite time is the fall. It is gorgeous here in the fall whenever the leaves start to change. Um, and I mentioned the Fireline Trail earlier. That's a great one to hike during the fall time to experience the foliage, especially with the multiple overlooks that you can get of the Lehigh Gorge. And that's where we do some of our fall foliage hikes too, our guided hikes. So keep an eye out for those programs coming up on our Facebook and the DCNR event pages.
Yeah, and we mention hiking a lot, but if you can't get out and hike and you want to stick to your vehicle, the Boulder Field Road, it's a long way to get out to Boulder Field. It's a fairly remote place, and that road you can go nice and slow, and there are mountain laurels galore out there. It is just gorgeous. And also the fall color along the Boulder Field Road is wonderful. So that's an option for folks if you're not as adventurous getting out there hiking. Just take a slow drive. Beautiful.
And I'd say Hickory Run, unlike a lot of state parks, where you feel like you've just drove through it, where it took you 4 or 5 minutes, or it took you. I mean, I was driving around to go to the Boulder Field, and I was like, "Are we still in the state park? Like, this is so long." Like, and it's not like 40 minutes or anything crazy, but it was just like, "Wow, this place is big." Like, that's the sense you get when you, especially when you reach, and we'll talk a little bit about it, about the camping areas and things like that. You're just like, the size of Hickory Run is huge. If you look at it on a map, you're like, "Oh, I could spend weeks here and not even discover half of the things you could do here."
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you had that impression. That's what we want visitors to realize. It's a big park, it's remote, and even though the Boulder Field, it's only 3.5 miles, you're going slow and there's some potholes and it feels like forever to get out there. So it is a really big park. There's a lot out there.
And now, let's hear from our sponsors. The Keystone Trails Association is hosting a 4-day Wilderness Advanced First Aid course from November 7th to 10th in Halifax, PA. This class teaches essential life-saving skills, patient assessment, field care for injuries and illnesses, managing environmental conditions, and proper reporting for rescue assistance. This event is ideal for outdoor enthusiasts and group leaders. Sign up today at kta-hike.org. Are you looking for your next adventure? Unlock some of the best landscapes in Pennsylvania with incredibly detailed, highly curated, waterproof trail maps from the folks at Purple Lizard. They create extraordinary maps of Pennsylvania state forests for people who love to explore the outdoors. Find them at your local outfitters, bike shops, and bookstores, or visit purplelizard.com, where your next adventure begins. The Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation is celebrating their 25th anniversary. Since 1999, they remain a cornerstone in supporting state parks and forests by creating accessibility and diversity opportunities, restoring habitats, providing educational opportunities, engaging in advocacy, and promoting the health benefits of being outdoors. In 2007, they started to record successes. They and their 46 chapters have since logged over 680,000 volunteer hours and completed more than 2,000 service projects. The work of the foundation and its friends groups could not exist without you. Thank you for being a part of a legacy of conservation for the future of Pennsylvania state parks and forests. To join their mission or to download resources for exploring state parks and forests, visit them online at paparksandforests.org. All right, back to the show. There are 3 natural areas at the park. Can you tell us about them?
Sure. The first natural area is at Boulder Field, which we talked about already, but it is not only a national natural landmark, but it's also a state parks natural area, which means it has extra protection from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, which manages our state parks. So there's some restricted development out there. So there's not really a whole lot of facilities. You will find a pit toilet out there, kind of right on the edge of the National Natural Landmark and the State Parks Natural Area. So within those natural areas, we can't have much infrastructure, which is wonderful. It's a more preserved area of the park. Mud Run is that other natural area that I mentioned before around Hawk Falls. It's about 1,300 acres. It has this beautiful stream that is filled with native brook trout, and it's a great place that anglers enjoy going down and fishing. There's rhododendron, hemlock, and this beautiful mature hardwood forest. And the best way to experience Mud Run Natural Area is on Orchard Trail Loop, which hooks up with Hawk Falls. It does have a separate parking area, but you can also connect from Hawk Falls. And it follows Mud Run through right along the edge of the creek along. It's kind of rocky, but Lots of rhododendron and these hemlocks overhead. So it's nice and cool and just a beautiful way to experience that natural area. The third natural area is Mud Swamp, which is in the southeast corner of the park. And it contains, rare plants like orchids and swamp plants like pitcher plants, sundews, things like that. And even though it's adjacent to developments and lots of homes, it remains really impenetrable and remote just because of the vegetation that is so thick. It's hard to get in there, and it can kind of be considered inaccessible. It's not easy to get into Mud Swamp, and we just don't recommend it. Just leave it alone. Let it be.
What kind of camping and cottage options are available for visitors?
Yeah, so we have plenty of camping opportunities here at Hickory Run State Park. We have almost 400 campsites in our campground. So we have everything down from the primitive walk-in sites all the way up to our full electric hookup. You can bring your RV or you can bring your tent. So yeah, and then we also have restrooms with running water and shower facilities as well. We are going to be opening up our new restroom and shower facility very soon in one of our loops of our campsite here, which we're very excited about because we never had the running flush toilets and showers out in that area before. But we also have pet-friendly sites too, so you're more than welcome to bring your pets as well. We have group camping as well, so a lot of scout groups or larger families might rent out these particular areas. But yeah, it's a great campground. People have a lot of fun. I do recommend booking in advance online, especially during the busy times like holiday weekends, 4th of July weekend, Labor Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Those are some very busy times. And since I've been working here over the past 3 years, the campgrounds have gotten completely full each one of those weekends. So if you're planning to come to camp during those weekends, definitely book in advance. Also, our cottages, we have a few cottages, very limited, but those areas you'll want to book in advance as well, because they will book up pretty quick also.
Yeah, I was stunned driving around the campgrounds because wherever there's a campground in a state park, me and my wife drive around. I give her the map. She circles all the ones we like, which ones we want to stay in. So we kind of have an idea when we want to book. We can automatically know which ones we want. And we just kept going around campsites. I was like, "How many more loops are there?" And she's like, "3." I was like, "3 more loops of like 100." She's like, "Yeah." It was incredible.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a state park that has as many or more than what you guys have.
I'm not sure.
It's huge. It's
Yeah.
almost overwhelming. If you were to just go in at night and just be like, "Oh yeah, let's try to find a campsite." Good luck to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The park is home to the Sand Spring Lake and a sand beach. What sort of water activities are popular with visitors?
So mostly swimming at our lake. We don't recommend kayaking or fishing. It's not a stocked lake. And it's very small. So we have a nice sandy beach that is great for playing in the sand. Picnic tables are nearby, so picnicking, grilling. And Jake mentioned the concession stand, which is open throughout the summer. They have ice cream and snacks and all sorts of, you know, food items. So, uh, great place to bring your family and enjoy a day, nice summer day.
Hickory Run gives visitors a chance to participate in several outdoor activities not typically available in most state parks. You have a disc golf course, 3 orienteering courses, and geocaching. How popular are those in the park?
They're all pretty popular from what I can tell. Get a lot of folks coming out to enjoy the disc golf course, which is located in the Deus area near the picnic area and the beach. has 19 holes, and it's popular, I think, because of the diversity of the holes. So it goes through open fields, through the forest, through thicker forest. It goes along the headwaters of Sand Spring Run, really pretty creek back there. It's just a beautiful course. We get a lot of questions about the orienteering course as well. So there are 3 different levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. The beginner and intermediate courses are in the day use area, and it starts right near the pavilion. The first 7 control points can be found just using landmarks in the day use area and the map. But it's a great way to practice your map and compass skills without the fear of really getting lost, because all the points are kind of in the picnic area. You don't need to go too far. So it's a great place to practice. And the intermediate course is a little more challenging, and it requires the use of a map and a compass to get from point to point. And it traverses some more difficult terrain, including kind of swampy areas and some steep banks. And the advanced course is separate. It is located throughout the forest near one of our group camps, and it's west of the day use area. So definitely grab a map for those. That one includes 7 control points and totals over 2.8 miles from point to point to point. And it has very challenging terrain. So that you got to have some experience if you're going to tackle that one. And each year, the Delaware Valley Orienteering Association holds orienteering events at the park. So look them up if you're interested in learning about orienteering, or grab a map on our website or in the park office.
And for those interested, a lot of parks actually have orienteering classes that you could take. So you could sign up and do that.
Yep, and we offer those from time to time as well. So keep an eye on our calendar of events. That's one of the things that I like to teach to folks, is how to use that map and compass. It's an important skill. Hate to see folks just rely on their cell phones. They're not as reliable as you may think. And one other activity, you mentioned geocaching. It's like a high-tech treasure hunting game that's played using GPS. So global positioning system satellites are way up in the sky, and we can connect to them using our phone if it's GPS enabled, or a standalone GPS device. And that can lead you to these locations that are on geocaching.com. So that's free to join. You can just get a free account and look up any of the caches that are in the park. And they range from pretty easy cache and dashes, they call them, that are like right in a parking lot, pretty easy to find. You don't have to go for a hike, but there are others that will take you to more remote places in our park, like some of the caches that we highlight in our Hidden Gems series. If you're interested in checking that out and trying it for the first time, there is an easy cache located near the visitor center. You can look that one up on geocaching.com. It's called 12345, and it has some information about trees in it. And bring a pen and bring some little trinkets to trade out. And it's a great one to start out with your family. Great one for kids.
I know that Hickory Run is a great place to wildlife watch. What kind of animals could visitors see, and are there any that people should be on the lookout for?
So this park has incredibly diverse habitat for many different species of wildlife. Definitely birding. It's a great place for birding. Even just here at the visitor center, sometimes I'll just walk out the door and I'll just hear like 7 different kinds of warblers out here, especially this time of year. It's great. My favorite animal is the black bear. So that is, a common bear that you can, potentially see in the park. We have lots of black bears in Pennsylvania, especially in the park, because we have a lot of people that have a lot of tasty food as well. So we always, try to tell people and bring awareness that, if you are camping or even just picnicking and you have food with you or any scented items, please keep those items locked away in your vehicles whenever you're away from your campsite or picnic area. And I say locked in your vehicle because we have had bears open car doors. It's happened over the past couple of years where the bears are very smart and they can look into a car window and see a cooler or food in there or smell it and they can actually open a car door. Trust me, you do not want a bear in your car. So yeah, just we try to make people aware of the bears in our park just because it has been an issue. We say a fed bear is a dead bear because unfortunately whenever they get used to people. They're fed by people. They can get closer and closer to them and feel more comfortable around them to where they can be very dangerous. And we do have to trap them and relocate them pretty often. I think we relocated about 3 bears last year, year before. I think we did a couple more than that. Thankfully, we haven't had to set up traps yet. We have had some issues so far, but nothing severe enough to where we have to set up a trap yet. But when they do get too bad, they do have to be euthanized. So that's why we say a fed bear is a dead bear. Um, but yeah, it is, whenever you do see a bear, they are, amazing animals. We're very fortunate to have them in Pennsylvania. So enjoy it. Yeah. So actually, another animal that I love to talk about, and I love to hear other people talk about that they see, are flying squirrels. Because a lot of people don't know that we have them around here, but we do. They're nocturnal, so you only see them at nighttime. So that's the thing. So I've heard people say whenever they're camping, they're eating dinner, at their picnic table, and then all of a sudden a flying squirrel would just come floating down and land on their table and steal some food. But if you want to see one whenever you're camping, it is good to maybe scope out where there's some like dead trees with holes in them whenever it's bright out. And then at nighttime you can come shine a flashlight up in the tree to see if you can spot them.
One thing I would add is people, when they visit Boulder Field, they have concerns about a certain type of wildlife. Um, all those rocks, people think that there are going to be a lot of snakes. And that's not necessarily true. I have seen snakes there, but it's always around the edges. And, out on the boulders, it's 16, 18 acres of rocks. There's no food web for the snakes to be eating from. But along the edges, there are plenty of little rodents. There are a lot of little snacks that the kids drop along the edge. So you have the possibility to find snakes right along the edge. But once you get out on the boulder field, it's very unlikely that you'll encounter a snake out there. So please don't worry about seeing snakes out at Boulder Field. And the ones that I have seen, I've never seen a venomous snake there. I think I've seen milk snakes, garter snakes. Is there anything else you've seen out there, Jake?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've seen. Yeah, I do see them every once in a while. Yeah, like you said, never any venomous snakes. I don't think we've ever even had any reports of any venomous snakes being out there. But we do have venomous snakes in the park. So the timber rattlesnake and copperhead. So.
It's funny when I went to Boulder Field, there was a family there, and they were very concerned about snakes. And I was like, I don't think they'd be around here. I was like, there doesn't seem to be a reason why they should be. It's like I get that it's sunny and they would want to stay warm, but they do that on trails mostly, not as much rocks in the middle of a giant boulder field. So
Yeah, exactly. It'd probably get too hot for them out on the middle of Boulder Field and nowhere to hide, but right along the edge, yeah, maybe.
what can visitors learn about when attending the park's visitor center?
Oh, so they can find all sorts of information like written driving directions to the most popular locations, details on hunting and fishing, a list of park programs, the disc golf and orienteering maps. The exhibit hall has interactive natural history exhibits on the Boulder Field, Hawk Falls, Shades of Death. It also includes the park's history and information about Lehigh Gorge as well. Our staff do manage Lehigh Gorge State Park and Nescapeck State Park, so you can find information on those parks in addition to everything you could ever want to know about Hickory Run. So it's always worth a stop into the visitor center. Our friendly staff are happy to help you.
I think your exhibit hall might be one of the best in the Commonwealth. I think I
Thank
mean,
you.
there's some you. I mean, I was stunned. My wife Abby and I were just laughing at each other. I was like, we might have taken more pictures of the exhibitors hall than we actually did outside. We were just
Wow.
so impressed. I mean, like there's some really good ones out there, like Kinzo Bridge, and there's Ohio Pile has a really good one, and obviously Tom Ridge Environmental Center and Presque Isle is a really good one. But there's just something about the design that you walk into, and you're like, wow, there is a lot of care and smart ideas going on that's not available anywhere else so far that I've ever seen.
Thank you so much for saying that. We worked really hard on that for about 5 years and put a lot into it and worked with some amazing, amazing fabricators to bring our ideas and their brilliant ideas to light. And it really gives you a taste of the park. So even if you do have those accessibility challenges, you can still get a good idea of what's out there. And it gives you that taste that makes you want to go explore even more. So, yeah, thank you for saying that. And I bet the next time you come back, you're going to see more things in there that you didn't see last time. There are so many little hidden, great little things to learn in that exhibit hall.
Yeah, we got to the end of it, and all of a sudden I was like, I think you can open up these little hatches. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're like, well, now we're going to run around this place looking at different hatches where you learn about
Hmm.
animals and insects and different plants and stuff. It was just, we were just so impressed that that amount of work went into a state park, because you kind of think of those areas as like, or you kind of think of national parks having these big, great exhibits, but state parks you don't always think about it. And then Hickory Run is just so blown away. It was such a pleasure to be able to see.
Yeah, and it kind of speaks to the scale of the park itself. It's a big park, and we have a lot of visitors from really all over the world. So we wanted to make sure that they felt welcome and had a great introduction to get them prepared to explore even more.
Yeah, I will also say that the visitor center is also a LEED certified building. So, LEED is an acronym for the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So it is DCNR 17th LEED certified building. So there are other environmentally friendly buildings out there within DCNR, but we have a lot of pretty cool features about the building here, the visitor center, which also acts as our office. So yeah, we have geothermal heating and cooling. You noticed, I'm sure, whenever you came here, the all of the windows we make very good use of the natural daylighting to cut down a lot on the lighting that we use. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. So you can learn a lot more about that too whenever you visit the center as well.
What sort of events are hosted at the park?
I can guarantee you that you will find a program that one of the educators will be hosting in the park pretty much every weekend. Well, every weekend from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So we have lots of opportunities. Before you come to the park, you can check out our Facebook page to see what programs we have going on. We also have them on the DCNR calendar of events. We post all of our programs on there. Or you can stop in the center, grab one of our newsletters. We usually have other updates about things going on in the park in our newsletter, along with a full list of all of our programs going on that weekend. And these programs are for people of all ages and all abilities. We usually have at least one kids program a weekend. We'll have guided hikes. We'll have movies, playing at the amphitheater. Sometimes we have live concerts during the holiday weekends. So we have lots of opportunities for educational uh, programming at the park. So, do you have anything to add to that, Megan?
Yeah, so even though the summer is our busiest season with programming and we do programs every single weekend throughout the summer, we do programming throughout the year. So even in the fall and winter, we'll still offer some hikes and like archery and other opportunities even throughout the winter. So keep an eye out. Anytime you visit, there's probably something going on.
Do you have any tips for people who plan on visiting the park, or any suggestions to make their visit as enjoyable as possible?
Well, definitely consider this an invitation. We'd love to have you experience this unique park. But please, whenever you decide to come, be prepared. Wear suitable footwear for the activities that you're going to be doing. Bring plenty of snacks. Take a map. Download it to your phone. And also grab a paper map from the visitor center when you arrive. Our friendly staff, they'll answer any questions about current conditions, give you their top picks, answer any questions you might have. And our award-winning exhibit hall will give you some background info on the park's history and get you some even more ideas for your next visit, because you're definitely going to want to come back.
Jake, anything else?
Oh, yeah, sure. So also just make sure if you are looking for information about the park, you do it through DCNR, because there are a lot of websites out there that have information on Hickory Run State Park that have a lot of incorrect information. One being about swimming opportunities. There sometimes the Hawk Falls is like labeled as like a top swimming waterfall. And you can, the rangers do enforce the rules at Hawk Falls with swimming. So please be aware that our only area that you're allowed to swim at is the Sand Spring Beach. So, and just yeah, if you need information, make sure you're getting it from a reliable source. So.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
I want to thank my guests, Megan Fedor and Jake Smith, for joining the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Meta for more information about upcoming episodes. You can support the podcast by buying merch at hemlockstohellbenders.com, or you can click support this show in the podcast description to provide a monthly donation. If you're a Pennsylvania business interested in advertising with the podcast, email us at hemlockstohellbenders@gmail.com. This has been Hemlocks to Hellbenders. I'll see you out there. Hosting, production, and editing by Christian Alexanderson. Music by John Sauer. Graphics by Matt Davis.